This is Lady Myya. Hello, you guys. We are back with another podcast. And I brought company. Yay! Okay, so Miss Robyn, she is a woman that wants to help a metaphysical and if I'm saying anything wrong, please do not hesitate to correct me, because you're on a subject that I have no idea about. So definitely want to learn. I'm willing to learn, definitely, and I hope my Mayan tribe is too. Mayan tribe, please welcome Robyn. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us, dear heart. Thank you. So, tell us the name of your business, please.
Robyn McTague Benefits. So I do lots of different things. So I thought that captured it the best, so that there is always something of benefit I can provide you, whether I can or referral. I don't think I can provide everything to everybody, but I'm willing to help you in whatever way I can and support you in other referrals if that's what's needed. I think that we need to be connected to many different people and areas, and I just love to learn and know about things, so it's great to have those other connections to help others.
Oh, certainly, certainly. We want everybody to feel connected. I think that's just really one of the lessons that we really need to learn now more than ever. And, we're so divided, at least here. You guys, Sister Sledge lives in Canada. She's got it right. She's gotten it right. Yeah. So definitely, I can see how you guys have always been so nice and just so so just oriented when it comes to each other and different things like that, and you're always willing to do the extra mile, and I think that's a fantastic thing. If we can relearn that situation, we would be better off. We really would be.
And it's interesting. One of the things I do is the Enneagram, and even countries have an Enneagram number. So the US is very 3, which is all about performing. So there's a big emphasis on what you do rather than who you are. And here in Canada, we tend to be 9, which is more the humanitarianism side. So that's why we're more focused on how can we, help people and just bring people together. So it's just what we have focused on in our culture and our countries.
No, that's true. That's very, very true. Okay. So give us a rundown on the business, dear heart.
Okay, so I know that some people weren't really sure what you were talking about at the beginning. So.
Nor did I.
So metaphysics is a way of bringing science and energy together. Everything is physics. And what was thought as woo-woo is really being proven by science. So everything is energy, and right from Einstein, he was talking about that. And so what I do is I teach a course in energy where I actually shift your vibration so that you can have those unconscious patterns come forward. And then we have choice to choose differently. And so it's a healing system through meditation. And I help both adults and children. And it gives us a way to shield ourselves. We're not taking on negativity. A way to bring in energy from the universe so we don't have to use our personal power, and a way to ground and find our answers within. It's an active style where you're going in and doing things rather than emptying the mind like other systems out there. And what I really love about the children's course is one of the parents has to come So they learn a system where they can assist each other when they're stressed out or having problems. And they have this kind of neutral, supportive language to say, like, hey, mom, you're stressed out right now. Why don't we bring in that calming energy, or I'll do a healing on you. And so kids learn to stand up for themselves and that they don't have to take on the negativity. And for the adults, it's a way to learn focus, manifest what you want from a place of love, not fear, and just a ton of tools like dream interpretation, working with crystals, all sorts of different things. So that's one side. And I do teach that online now. I just got qualified where I can teach internationally. So I'm really excited about that. And the other piece is the more sort of business, but it's really about bringing our whole life together. In the past, people were really compartmentalized about their life and their business. And I find this not just corporately, but as entrepreneurs. And having been working in corporate and coming to entrepreneurs, I really find it's important for entrepreneurs to understand that they need to set up different ways of being in the world, because they had these different structures and things before, and then they leave and it's like, what do I do now? So one of the things that suffers is their motivation, because they don't understand what drives their behavior, how they get their energy from what they do, and how they might end up sitting on the sofa for hours and think, what did I get done today? And start to blame themselves and not realize they just didn't know how to align themselves with what motivates them, what's important to them, and then go to that additional layer of who they are at their core and why they do that from a different perspective. So from the Enneagram perspective, I use this tool to help them transform both psychologically and spiritually. So they see those places where they have the blind spots, or they might be repeating patterns that no longer serve them. Maybe it's how they build relationships. Maybe they don't know how because they didn't have to do that before, and they don't feel comfortable with it. Or they're so focused on one particular area, or there could be conflicting motivators and they're not sure why they're doing that, or their type is having them believe something that isn't true.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. I think, you just, I want to sound really smart saying what I want to say, but at the same time, I just feel like I'm so all over the place when it comes to something like that. Because when you gave it to me as far as the spiritual and scientific, with definitely with the crystals and the energy and different things like that, you had me at a go. I was like, yes. And then you said everything else, and I was just like, oh, I have no idea what I'm saying now. Don't say anything wrong.
That's okay. We can chat about whatever you need to.
So yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting to talk about.
And especially, with COVID and people are working from home, and maybe what motivated them before, they're not getting. So they don't realize that they've lost energy because of that. So if friendships, for example, are really important to someone and they don't have them right now, they don't have that interaction, they don't know why they're not feeling happy or getting things done. But that's why, because they don't have what they normally have to energize them.
I hear you on that one. Okay. Yes, ma'am. That makes sense. I love that. Okay. So what are you finding that you're coming across in your business with the people that are looking to use your services?
Well, number one is acknowledging feelings, because what's happening, just like you were talking about, we're with ourselves a lot more right now. And if you haven't had some kind of practice or ways to feel comfortable with that, you're going to feel very uncomfortable. And things like grief are coming up. It's in our society. It's all around us. We're picking up on it. We've got our own stuff going on. So we've got these feelings that we're not sure what to do with them. And maybe these are things that we have put to the side for a very long time. And they're kind of in our face and we don't know how to address them. So one of the things I do is called shadow work, where we bring forward those places where we haven't wanted to look at them. So an example I give is jealousy. We don't want to feel jealousy. Why would I want to feel that? And so when it comes up, it's like, I'm not going to feel that. But then what happens in our subconscious, it has us act out in weird ways. And maybe we do some self-sabotage, or we do something that we think, what the heck? Why did I do that? And it's because we haven't acknowledged it. So it's running the show in the unconscious. But when we can actually bring it forward, look at it, and find out, why am I doing that? What is that feeling about? And we can actually go and find out the original intent, which was positive. So for me, when I did this process, it helped me to understand it just means that there's something that I desire. Maybe it's something I can't do right now because of travel or because of whatever it is, money, time, whatever it is. So it's just acknowledging it. And then the energy is gone from it, and it's not holding me back. It's just like, yeah, I'd really like to do that. And I realize I can't right now, so I can move on instead of it continually nagging at me. And yeah, sadness, grief, loss, and finding out what does make us happy. You know, that's what I love about you. You bring the joy, and we need more of that in our life. And how can we understand that we can bring that for ourselves, right? It doesn't come from the external. And that's a big part of what I talk to people about in everything I do. It's all internal. People, some of the myths that I talk about with motivation, it used to be thought that there was internal and external motivation. That's not true. It's all internal. Because can you really make someone do something that they don't want to do?
Not at all.
Exactly.
We try to get our kids to do that stuff all the time.
So when we can tweak it to get them curious or interested, or find a way that is in alignment what motivates them,
Exactly.
they're going to do it because they're excited about it.
Yes. I like that. I like that a lot. Cause okay, so let's do this. Myyan tribe, let's motivate you. Let's motivate you to listen more. Yay. Okay. I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on. It's just like everything that you hear most public speakers or pastors or, these people in their respective places say, not always, because, you have some naysayers always, there's always some. But at the same time, you have to I try to look at the glass half full, especially when it's wine. I'm just saying how like you said, you have to find that motivation. You have to find that thing that's going to get you to where you really want to be, or the other person for that matter. And I think that is an absolutely excellent idea, because that now gives me all types of thoughts.
Yeah. And two, what is true motivation? We don't know until we go inside and find that out. Because we can go to these events, and I call them the raw events. And so, you have this kind of false sense of motivation because you're feeling high from the energy. They know the psychology of how to get you pumped up. But how long does it last? Days, weeks, maybe a month? It's not sustainable. So if we're not looking at what is important to us, which again changes over time, then, we have to revisit that for ourselves. If you think even as little as 2 years ago, that could change, but think back 10 years, right? It's different from what we want now. And nothing is in stasis, right? We're either moving forward or we're kind of going backwards. So it's like, we need to look at how we view things Our personality stays pretty well basic. That doesn't change much. But how we view our current life and how we view the future, that changes over time. And that's why motivation changes.
That's true. That's very true. I can see that being, it's just one of those moments that you really don't want to see in the mirror. You know, you look in the mirror, you like, I really don't want to look there directly, at least, you know, and you try to avoid. I think a lot of people are in the business of avoidance. Unfortunately, that has to be true, because there's a lot of people that are just angry for why we don't know. And then most of the time they don't even know. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow, you know, especially in the day and age that we're in. Everybody's losing it. People are just kind of really ready to not have to deal with it, or just get out and just do something that they always really wanted to do or can't do. You know, you got so many people. The red tape is something else, you know. Mm-hmm. Like you see red, you're ready to like blow everything up. Like, no, I can't do it no more. But at the same time, like, okay, give me something that you have in your practice that helps people kind of talk them off the ledge. Because I'm usually talking myself off the ledge at least twice a week. Depending on schedule.
So number one is realizing we have choice in everything that we do. Mm-hmm. And when I trained in conflict resolution, it was really interesting, especially with anger. Anger is one of the most misunderstood and an emotion that we have never been taught to deal with honestly, directly, in a healthy way. So what happens is that we push it down. And this is why we see road rage and these incidents, because what happens is we keep pushing it down, and then at some point it has to blow. And so when that experience happens where it feels too much and there's the explosion, it's not that specific incident, it's all those 50 before that we never addressed. And when I've worked with people who are angry to help them to see they actually, before there's that actual thing that they do, there's intent before the event. And so it's coming up, and it's like, if they learn to have that second where they realize I can take a breath here and I can choose differently. But when we're in that escalation, that's a bit harder. So the more that they can learn to de-escalate and then learn to take that breath and see what is going on for me. So it's always kind of reflecting back, because we're so good at projecting onto other people what's going on for ourselves. And I actually was just with a client before this, and that's all we talked about was the projection of her feelings onto her partner and how that escalated, and then they had the argument. So realizing, just asking myself, am I projecting or am I assessing the situation? If I'm projecting, there's going to be some feeling involved and I'm creating a story. If I'm just assessing, there's no charge on it. There's no feeling. I'm just looking at what's going on. And when I interpret it a certain way, you know, I'm projecting that out there. So those people are angry. Well, where's the anger in myself that I'm not feeling, that I'm not willing to go to? Because it feels like it's too much. And that was my story with the trauma that I went through in my life. And my wake-up call was breast cancer. And I sat here on my sofa for about 6 months going inward. And it's like, how did I get here? And it was all those stuffed down emotions that I hadn't felt, all the trauma that I'd gone through in my life that I hadn't addressed. And I felt like if I went into it, I'd never get out of it to the other side. And thankfully, you do, because I'm here.
Yay, she's here. I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Because I think that was absolutely excellent. And I appreciate that, definitely. deal with the little things so it won't turn into a big thing. I like that. But I have a question about this shadow work. Now, is that something different as opposed to what you have been talking about, or is that kind of right there in the same?
It's part of the Enneagram process that I work with people on.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part is understanding what is their type. And then when we get into the coaching, counseling part of it, it's looking at what are those shadow pieces. And so I talk about welcoming all parts of self. So there isn't any part of us that we can't love and accept in us. Mm-hmm. But when we don't accept it, that's when we create problems for ourselves. And we all have these parts, right? We didn't grow up, most of us, in a healthy environment. Even if we had a healthy environment in our home, you go to school and things happen there and there's judgments and different things. And, no one's really to blame, but this is just how things are. So it's like, we have put that stuff aside because it felt too painful.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
And we're not taught to deal with our painful emotions. Nope. And this is a disservice to our kids when we make everything okay, or that we, this is why we have food issues, because let's comfort them with food. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways when an adult doesn't feel the ability to deal with that themselves because it brings up their own stuff, then they're not going to allow their child to feel their feelings. Like, when a kid falls down, that's okay, you're not hurt. Well, you're discounting their feelings, so they learn to not believe because what they're feeling, they're being told they're not feeling it.
Mm-hmm. I tell my kids, you feel it, but you gonna man up because we can't do this right now. I'm not going to drag you kicking and screaming back to the car. It's just not going to happen. But I understand completely. You're doing a definite disservice if you are having them not deal with the situation, because that was how I was brought up. I don't know about. I know there's many of people because I've heard their stories too. Because I was just like, oh, for real, me too. So I look at it like children. This is what they told us: children should be seen and not heard. Exactly. And when we were trying to tell them things that were happening and going on that shouldn't have been, we weren't allowed to talk. And you're not allowed to have a say-so until you're old enough to be out of this house and on your own. And so that just gave me a lot more power than the people that told me that I wasn't supposed to have a voice. And I saw that and I said, oh, I'm running with this thing. I'm never shutting up. Oh, my husband hates it, but he will live to love it later.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did find your voice. That's wonderful.
Yeah, my mom, she's sick of it too. So I'm like, that's on you.
That's the thing, right? When it's the secrets, and the more that we can say that's not acceptable, this is how bullying goes on.
Yeah.
Not just as kids, as adults, right? Look at leaders and organizations. I've had different mentors over the time. And it's like things happen and it's like you're not walking the talk.
Yeah.
And that's all about the alignment that I'm so on about, is because if they're not in alignment, then I'm not willing to hang around anymore. I've learned to move beyond those feelings of loyalty, which is part of my type as a type 6, is I stayed loyal for way too long to others and not to myself. And that was a really painful lesson for me. But to actually see it and the freedom to get on the other side is so important. Just like with your abuse, the abuse that you suffered.
Ain't that something though? It's like we look good, honey. We working this thing out. We letting these people know. Look, don't worry about what you don't say. Because, the outside, we look good. We making it work. We like, yes. But there's so many layers to this thing. If y'all just knew or understood it would be fine, and different things like that. I would like to know, what would you tell my listeners, just like going forth with, things that they don't necessarily want to deal with, you know?
So we have a choice always. And a lot of that is learning to trust ourselves. So most of us did not grow up learning boundaries.
Mhm.
And so learning boundaries is really challenging. It's usually one of the first places I start with people, because we either go no boundaries or such a hard boundary that we don't let anyone in because we've been hurt. And so for me, I didn't have boundaries growing up. Most of the time, I didn't even have my own bed, my own bedroom, right? So no boundaries. And so when I started to feel some connection with people, I would tell too much. I didn't have good boundaries about letting it out bit by bit, learning some trust, and then going a bit deeper. And so the more that you can look at, do I feel safe? Can I trust myself in the situation? What's the evidence I have? So it engages the mind, and then go into the feelings, because we have the head, we have the heart, and we have the gut. And eventually we want to have all of those working together. But each person has a main way that they receive information. So if you're the thinker type, it's like, what is my evidence? If it's a heart, it's like, can I trust this? Do I trust myself? How am I feeling about it? What's the feeling? Because often as kids, again, we have those scents, right? It's like the kid doesn't want to see Uncle so-and-so, but we say, no, you have to go see them, but they know there's something not right. And so we have that instinct that we need to bring back. And then for some people, it's just that kinesthetic, the body reaction. And so, thinking, feeling, doing, our body has so much knowledge. So the simplest thing, think about, what is that boundary that you don't or do have, and where is that line that you need to find for it. And often anger is one of the ways we learn where that boundary is. It could be a lesser form, irritation, resentment. Some of those things kind of come up, and it's like, when that comes up, is there a boundary that's being pushed against me? Something I'm not comfortable with? Someone's asking me to do something that I'm not comfortable with, or I'm not telling myself, I'm not being honest with myself. So there's that honesty piece too that I think is really good. But the more that you can kind of really observe the boundary and that place where you're making it for yourself, and sometimes we have to be a bit hard line because we've let people walk all over us and they don't believe us until we keep saying it. It's like, nope. And you don't have to explain, right? It's like, well, do this. It's like, no. Why not? I said no, right? It's like the broken record. Especially as women, we're taught to put ourselves second, to, do the volunteer, do this, and to the point of exhaustion. But it's like the oxygen mask. If we don't take care of ourselves first, how do we take care of anyone else? We're not going to be here. And, the amount of health problems that all people have because of the stress and not being able to say no, create those boundaries, I think is one of the most basic things.
Oh, wow. I think that is amazing. Thank you so much. I know my viewers, they taking notes, okay? Because I was trying to take some, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's that. I think this was an amazing conversation. Like, really, like I'm still just kind of like rearing off of this thing, and I'm like, you know what, I like how you said everything, and I really think that there's more that probably needs to be said, but I will say this, you guys, please She's a wonderful individual. I'm telling you, you gotta look her up. You guys gotta look her up. You know what, Robyn, can you give us your contacts, dear heart?
Sure. You can text or phone me if you're in the US or Canada, 604 644 0017. And I'm on Facebook as well, if that's easier for you.
Okay, and your website.
And the website is alifeofchoice.ca. Because I'm in Canada, remember the CA. And people do this all the time. They just automatically go to .com, and it's like, no, it's alifeofchoice.ca. I like to promote our Canadian whatever. So, but
like,
I
the
love
World Wide Web is not just here, you guys. Just let you know. There's
like I recently had someone from Australia, so it just helps them to see where I'm from too.
Nice. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to all of us. Definitely. Thank you so much, dear heart. I appreciate your time and your energy. You have you got me. You got me. I'm all types of dumbfounded right now because I think we had such a interesting conversation, and this is something I really hope that this is not the last time I get to talk to you. Certainly.
Well, thank you so much. I love your energy as well, and all the joy that you bring, and I appreciate you for doing this and letting people be aware of a different way of looking at things, which is what I'm all about.
Yay. Yay. Okay, you know the drill, you guys. I'm on Patreon now. Please help a sister out. It's not just for this show, Living Your Best Life with Lady Myya, but it is for the radio show and now the TV show. You guys, please, I'm asking for your support. And I only want to get the content out to you guys, make sure it's just right for you guys. So, there's that. And if you want to be on any of the shows, you can always reach me at admin@ladymyya.com or ladymyya.com and MYYA. And you know why? Because your homegirl is special. I will talk to you guys later.